Fleetwood Mac, my roommate's dead. Fungus fermentation. Another Wonka reboot, JFK's assassination.
It's not my favorite topic, just my brain's current fixation.
Hyperfocus.
Hyperfocus, a neurodivergent podcast.
Hi, everybody. This is Virginia Dickens here with another episode of Hyperfocus, a neurodivergent podcast. And today, my guest is New York City-based comedian Laura Merli.
Hi.
Hello. Thank you
Here
for joining me.
Happy to be here.
I'm happy you're here, too. And so today, we're going to talk about our hyperfixations. Laura's is Thomas Thwaites' artistic performance art.
Yeah, so he's done a lot of cool projects, but the one that I'm most obsessed with is his GoatMan project.
Okay. Then after that, my hyperfocus on brown noise, which has saved my life. But first, before we get into it, I like to just start off the podcast by chatting with you about your experience being neurodivergent.
Well, it was definitely a later in life diagnosis. I wasn't diagnosed with ADHD or autism until my 30s, which is super late. And it was really interesting to me to read about all these things that I've struggled with, learn like that there was a name for them and like that a lot of other people experience them, and that some of the ways that I had been a late bloomer per se were explainable and not just because I'd suck. So I did go to like a professional and get professional diagnoses, and I was really excited to learn more and more about it. Lately, I feel a little bit overwhelmed about, I'm on TikTok a lot and Instagram a lot because I'm doing comedy and I'm trying to put my stuff out there. And the algorithms do show me a lot of neurodivergent content. And this is probably like too much to get into right now, but there's just so much discourse around it. It was initially like a source of comfort, and then it became this like kind of overwhelming thing. And then also like people online, some people are very like cool and supportive when you talk about it, and I've definitely met other neurodivergent people that I've bonded with, and that's been really cool. But I've also gotten a lot of comments online of people who think, oh, you're faking it for attention, or like, oh, everyone is that these days, saying this or that, and that's been kind of overwhelming. So lately I've kind of taken a step back from talking about it online directly, but now I'm on this podcast, so I guess I'm talking about it again.
I feel like almost in a way it was like a massive overcorrection.
Yes.
Like it was something that no one really ever talked about much at all. And then all of a sudden it went really hard in the other direction of overexposure in a way.
Yes.
Which I agree, like there's a plus and minus to it. More exposure I think is always a good thing. But then also like in a way it's almost too normalized that from what I've noticed, a lot of people just now like don't think it's a big deal. They're like, everyone has ADHD, whatever. And I was like, no, actually it's not, it's not like that. And also I think a lot of people have like been self-diagnosing from TikTok, which also is good and bad. Because I think it has helped a lot of people that normally wouldn't have thought to go seek an official diagnosis. But at the same time, again, I think it maybe over-normalizes and makes also talking about it maybe like a little too candid for some people.
Yeah, and then especially with autism, there's like a lot of comedians especially who will say things that are like, everybody is autistic because it's a spectrum. But if you just look into it for even a little bit, the spectrum isn't 0 to 100 and everybody's on it. The spectrum is like a series of diagnostic factors, and you have to like hit above a certain level on a number of factors to be on the spectrum. And I get that, like, in comedy, we simplify things and it's, like, silly or what. Like, I say things in comedy that are not literally true. But, but that does bug me when people say stuff like that. Because it just adds fuel to the fire that other people have. Like, I posted this thing recently about, like, it was a joke related to having autism or ADHD, and this guy commented and was like, you're just saying that so you can get free benefits from the government. And I don't get benefits from the government.
Oh, that's so funny.
Yeah. And
even if you needed to, you probably wouldn't get them.
Yes, it's actually really hard to get benefits. And there are people who are autistic who need benefits, and I want them to get it. And, there's different levels to autism, which correspond to different needs for support. And I'm level 1, which is requiring the least level of external support. And it's still very challenging sometimes and is a real disability, but it's not one that's enough that you would get government funding. Mm-hmm. And people who have higher levels do need that, and they should get that. And that just really pissed me off that he said that.
Yeah, that's an insane comment to say. People bring their own stuff into everything all the time. I try so hard to not read the comments, and it's hard not to.
Yeah, well, I think there are some people online who do talk about their own experiences and make it sound like they have it the hardest. But I think similar to what you were saying before, there has been an overcorrection where now if you bring up anything that's not just I'm having an amazing time eating ice cream. If you just bring up anything that could be taken negative about yourself or your identity or something you've struggled with, people are automatically are you saying that you have it worse than this person or this person or this person?
Yeah.
And it's no, I wasn't saying that. Everything that you say or post I don't only post things if it's the worst thing ever. Mm-hmm. I'll just post anything that I'm thinking of in the moment.
Okay, well, are you ready to talk about?
Yes.
So I've never heard of Thomas Thwaites until you said you wanted to talk about him and his GoatMan performance art piece. Mm-hmm. How did you get into all of this?
I found the book kind of randomly at a store, and I was just really intrigued by it because I love animals, and you always kind of think about being an animal, as a kid.
Yeah, that's true.
I remember as a kid pretending to be a dog or reading Animorphs or whatever. And I think it's so cool that he took it to that degree that he took it to. So the book is called GoatMan, How I Took a Holiday from Being Human. And it came out in 2016. And so he had a really successful project before this called the Toaster Project.
Oh.
Yeah.
What's that?
It's not what you're thinking. He didn't become a toaster.
Okay.
Yeah. What he did is he tried to find, could you, in this age, assemble a toaster from complete scratch? Because if you look at a toaster, it contains a gazillion parts and pieces that are all made in different facilities all over the world. So from as far back as he could possibly do it, he had to take iron ore to make steel to try and make a toaster, and it took him I think 9 months.
Wow.
To do that, and it was a very intense, overwhelming project that he took on, and it's really interesting. And he got a lot of media attention from it, from sort of the NPR crowd of people who like that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. And then after he had so much success with that, he was kind of stressed out about, okay, what do I do next? Mm-hmm. And just felt very depressed and was having some problems in his personal life too. And then one day he was walking a friend's dog and was like, wow, this dog seems so happy and peaceful. And he thought about what it would be like to be a dog, but he didn't want to do that because he didn't want to eat meat. So then he thought about being an elephant. But the thing with elephants is they also have pretty complex emotional lives, and they can have PTSD that's documented or depressive episodes. And he went to a shaman, and the shaman was like, you really shouldn't be an elephant because you just maybe saw one in a zoo, but you don't have a cultural connection to an elephant. You should be a goat. So he was like, yeah, you know what? I should be a goat. Mm-hmm. So he got a grant to live as a goat for 3 days.
I was wondering how he finances all of this. So that
yeah,
okay.
He did get a grant. And then he did about a year of research before he joined the goat herd. And the main thing that he had to figure out was getting the prosthetics together because he didn't want to just crawl around on his hands and knees. Mm-hmm. He wanted to be kind of on the tips of his fingers and toes. And the Alps are like very steep. That's what goats are kind of evolved to be in that environment. And like, we just don't have that physicality. So he worked with a prosthetics creator.
Wow.
Yeah. So he like elongated the arms, and then he has like little things on his feet so he can be like kind of on the toes. And he had a helmet, and then he also had to get an artificial rumen.
Okay.
Animals that eat grass have this thing called a rumen, which helps them digest it through microbial fermentation. And originally what he wanted to do was like inject some of their gut bacteria into his gut, but that's actually so dangerous. People were like, no, you can't. You can't do that. Okay. So then the next plan is he found a lab where he could make an artificial rumen, something that would ferment the grass. So he would take the grass in his mouth, chew it up, spit it into the pouch, and then it would ferment. And then he was hoping to just eat it from there. But they said even that, like, you really can't do that. You might get worms or like super, super sick forever. So what he would do is like at the end of the night, he would boil all the grass in his rumen and then eat it.
Okay.
It's tasty. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
It doesn't sound tasty.
That doesn't sound very goat-like to boil your grass.
No, there are definitely some flaws in the project. That one of the big flaws is that he wasn't able to find a way to successfully eat grass.
Yeah.
And the other big flaw is he doesn't look like a goat. Like when you see pictures of it online, or I can show you later.
I did see a picture.
Yeah.
It's just like a man on stilts.
It's a man on stilts with a helmet on.
Yeah.
I'm like, you could have done more to look like a goat.
Yeah.
Thomas. I really like him, but like, that's one thing where I'm like, why didn't he, goat it up a little bit more?
Well, especially if I were a goat, I don't know how I'd respond to that.
Yeah, so how the goats responded is initially it was kind of hard for him to get in with them. Obviously, they were like, "What? Who's this?
What the fuck is this
Who's
guy?
this?" And then eventually he figured out kind of like their social hierarchy. There's like, goats that were like toward the top that you had to respect more, and then the lower goats. And he made an ally with one of the lower goats. So then that goat would like hang out with him a lot, would like eat next to him and like follow him around and stuff. And then there was one moment of a lot of tension where he accidentally was standing higher up on the hill than all the other goats, which you're not supposed to do because like the head goat is supposed to be the highest up. And everybody like stopped chewing and like looked at him and was like not happy for a moment. But then his ally goat like diffused the tension by walking through the center of the circle that was looking at him. So his ally goat was kind of like protecting him for these 3 days, or like he might have gotten hurt. Like goats, when they attack each other, will sometimes like break each other's legs with their horns. If a goat went and broke his leg, I mean, they could probably break his leg. And if they did that in the middle of this situation, he would have been in a lot of trouble.
Yeah. Was he just out there by himself? Like there was no one else monitoring, or like did he have a phone in case
So he was on a goat farm, and there was like a guy who was hurt, like the goat herder. I forget what the technical term for that is.
Like someone owned the goats.
Someone owned the goats. And the guy who owned the goats said he did believe that the goats took him in at the end.
Wow.
Yeah, he was like, I think you were really part of the goats. And one other thing that I thought was funny that I haven't seen many articles cover who've talked about this is like in the book, he talks about, he's getting closer and closer to these goats. At one point, he has a thought, like, if a goat tries to have sex with me, what do I do? Because he's really trying to get in the mind of a goat. So if if he's truly in the mind of a goat, he's gotta fuck the goat. But if he wants his project to be taken seriously and not have people be like, that was just a weird sex thing, he can't fuck a goat.
Yeah.
But there's this quote that he said that I think is kind of interesting that he said to NPR in an interview about the book that I wanted to read that's about goats. So he said, They're just as evolved as humans. They've evolved to eat grass and travel down mountains extremely dexterously and survive in the wild, and I don't think you quite realize how difficult that is. For all the technological power that we have, we're still not close to being as good as a goat at going down a steep path. They're not a lower form of life, and they're very good at being goats, but we're very good at being humans and carrying shopping bags and philosophizing.
Wow.
Yeah. Beautiful, I think.
It is beautiful.
Yeah.
And he really respects the goats. I respect goats.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah.
They've got a reputation for being devilish. They've been symbols for the devil throughout history, which I think is very odd, like in part because of their beard and because their eyes look kind of weird.
Oh.
You know how have you seen the goat's eyes up close?
Yes. I would have thought it would have been from the horns.
And I think also the horns. But I think the eyes are pretty key. Theirs are sideways ovals instead of circles. And that gives us kind of like an eerie, weird feeling when we look at them. But that doesn't really mean anything. It's just, you know.
It's just how their eyes are.
Yeah, it's just how their eyes are. But anyway, he won this prize called the Ig Nobel Prize, which is a little like play on words on like the Nobel Peace Prize and the word ignoble, which is like silly. That's like every year they give out a prize for like 10 unusual or odd achievements in scientific research. And they said, a quote from them is, they try to honor achievements that first make people laugh and then make them think.
That sounds like the perfect award for this to get. Because I was wondering about like the scientific aspect of it, because it is technically performance art. But
it's like a mixture between art and science. I think that he is really interested in science. Like he talked to an animal behaviorist before this. And but I don't know that he got anything scientifically valid from it.
Yeah, I think it's interesting too to see like how, with only 3 days and integrating into their crew, their little goat gang, like that's impressive to me.
Yeah.
I don't know if I could like do that with people.
No, yeah, same.
So, like, that he only got in that quickly.
There was one point where he said that like the herder, the person whose like farm he was on, offered him goat soup, and he felt this weird feeling about it because he was like,
These are my new friends.
I'm a goat. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I am. Yeah, and I'm a goat too. That is weird.
And like right now I'm blanking about if he ate it or not. I think he did though.
Was it not during the experiment, like before?
No,
or
like after, like when he was hanging out with them after. But I mean, he also was like kind of, I think, probably malnourished from eating grass for
sure. 100%. Yeah, that can't be like good for you.
No,
for a human. Okay, are you ready to talk about brown noise?
Sure. Right? I don't know what that is. I don't think
so. There's like the three main color sounds, I guess: white noise, pink noise, and then brown noise. I'd known about brown noise for a while. Pink noise was a new one for me. I only know the reason why white noise is called white noise. They're each defined by how it distributes noise across like frequencies from low to high. And so white noise, it distributes power to every frequency equally. It sounds like harsher to human ears because we pick up higher frequencies more, so it sounds like a higher frequency even though it's even. And so I think it's called white noise because it has like a similar characteristic to white light, which contains all the colors of the visual spectrum at like an equal intensity. So like white noise is applying power to each frequency equally as well. I like white noise. It's a popular one. I have a white noise machine, but it's like a fan white noise machine, which I like because since I was like a kid, I always had a fan, like a loud fan on in my room, like at all times. I get so distracted by like sounds. And so I've always just had a fan running constantly to like drown out extra small sounds that stress me out or get me distracted or whatever. And then how I got onto brown noise was this coffee shop opened up near my apartment. A few months after it's been open, all of a sudden they have DJ nights at nighttime. No one's doing anything about the bass. It was stressing me out because like Friday night was DJ night and I was like, I'm going to be hearing bass for like 6 hours. So
yeah, that's so stressful.
Someone on Reddit was like, blast brown noise, and that is a lower frequency because the bass is a low frequency, and it's brown noise puts more power on like a lower frequency emphasis and it will drown it out. And so I tried that and it worked. And now
Where do you find brown noise?
So I use Spotify. There's like a playlist that is 12 hours of brown noise, and it's a great playlist, but it is fucking up everything else on my Spotify because now all of my Discover Weekly, it's just like ambient sounds. And like I don't have new music recommendations anymore because it thinks that it just thinks I'm into listening to brown noise all the time, which I am, but like I'm not listening to it. It's more just like a background sort of a thing. There's like apps too. There's like, you could do a YouTube video of like 20 hours of like brown noise. So like essentially brown noise is like the deepest, I guess I would call it. And like pink noise is in between white and brown. So like pink noise boosts the lower frequencies and reduces the power like proportionately to higher frequencies. So it sounds more balanced than white noise. And then brown noise like really kicks it out to the lower frequencies. And that's like, to me, the most soothing. It's kind of like a low rumble or like similar to like water. Or my favorite, it kind of feels like you're in like an airplane cabin. And it just masks everything. As I also started to play it in the mornings, my next door neighbor will wake up, and he was waking me up every single morning for months, like not doing anything, but walking around. And either it's the building or he's a loud walker, but the footsteps were waking me up and making me feel really anxious. So like the second I would hear him, I would go like put my speakers on and then like go straight back to bed. Like I felt like a baby or something. Like it would like zonk me out. So now I'm to the point where like I'm basically like playing brown noise like 24/7 in my apartment.
Wow.
I got 2 like portable speakers that while one is charging, the other is running, and then I swap it out for like the next one because it has to be like near me.
Does it just sound like...
Yeah, it's like or no, those are bad. Well, I could probably get. I don't know if this will pick up on the mic.
Play one of the hits.
This is the first one called Brown Noise Stream by Humming.
Oh. It sounds kind of like wind.
Yeah, it's kind of it. This one's slightly different. This is Brown Noise Schlaflied by Sleepy Mind.
Yeah, I think I like that better than white noise.
Okay, yeah, because white noise, it's so interesting to me that it's the most balanced of all of them, but it sounds so much higher pitched to our ears. I find that like really interesting because I'm also like, I'm on like the misophonia like subreddits, which is what I have, which is like, I guess technically fear of sound or like extreme sound sensitivity. Also like the ADHD subreddit, everyone loves brown noise in these subreddits, but someone was saying too, as they aged, well, their hearing changed, and like white noise changed how they were hearing it because they weren't picking up as much like higher frequencies too. So like I found that really interesting that it can like evolve.
Yeah, because I haven't historically liked white noise when people put that on, but that I could see having on and being okay with it.
Yeah. And like there are like allegedly a lot of benefits to brown noise, which it improves sleep. It can reduce stress and anxiety. It can enhance focus and concentration. It can mask tinnitus, which I think is cool, and improve cognitive functioning.
I need some improvement, so
yeah,
I'll get into it.
And I play it now when I watch TV also, but it has been getting like worse of like my sensitivities to sounds around me, like footsteps, it's like all just like apartment living stuff. Sometimes if it's like a lot going on late at night, I'll like blast Twinkle Twinkle Little Star to be like, it's bedtime on repeat. So
would he even hear it?
I put the speakers like on my ceiling. Yeah. Because again, I'm that petty, but I'm also, I go to bed when you go to bed, essentially. So like you get to hear my music now. If I get to hear your stomping feet all night long, and then when you go to bed, I'll go to bed too. Because otherwise I can't sit here and just listen to your feet. I don't know if that message is getting across at all. Or they just like think I'm insane and like to blast Coco Melon's Twinkle Twinkle Little Star for 15 minutes straight. And I have noticed that like when I do just put brown noise like near my face, like I'll put it like on my headboard, like behind me, I don't notice as much stuff, which is really nice because like I work from home too. So like any little sound, I'm like, what's that? What's that sound? What's that sound? When's that sound ending? Is the next one going to happen soon? And then like I can't do anything. I can't get anything done. So it's like a nice...
That would be interesting to figure out if other apartments could hear it at all, or if they could hear it, if they would even process what was going on.
Yeah, because it's not a disturbing sound either. So if you could hear it, it's not like a repetitive sound. It's warm and comforting and soothing. It might be like a weird, like, what is that?
Yeah.
Like it sounds like...
What is this warm, comforting feeling that's improving my cognition day by day?
Yeah. It's like, my neighbor keeps playing something that is like lulling me to sleep and like reducing my stress. So I've had no complaints yet about blasting brown noise. Thank you so much for joining me today. I've learned so much, especially about GoatMan. Laura Merli is a New York City-based comedian. You can follow her on Instagram and TikTok at Passive Abrasive. We'll link that in the show notes. Also, you can follow her on YouTube at youtube.com/Laura Merli Comedy. Also linked in the show notes. And be sure to check out her stand-up special called Belly Slappin' Fun. And the Instagram for this show is at Hyperfocus Comedy if you want to follow along for updates on episodes and live shows. There's also a Patreon linked if you feel like supporting the show. I'm Virginia Dickens, and this has been Hyperfocus, a neurodivergent podcast.